And while you're doing that, a reminder, if you parked in the parking garages around town, we validate parking. So on your way out of the front registers, you can get stickers for parking. And also hold on to your tickets, because those are $5 coupons off any purchase you make tonight, or any of Greg's books, which are all on display at the top of the stairs there. So take a look on your way out. Feel free to grab a copy, get it signed, and then just pay on your way out of the store. So at this point, I'd like to do a little introduction. Greg is an internationally acclaimed travel and adventure writer. He's contributed to dozens of Lonely Planet guidebooks and created the company's first guidelines on writing about sustainable travel. He's written articles for National Geographic Traveler and the BBC, crafted speeches for the United Nations, interviewed Grammy Award winners and heads of state, and explored our planet by ski, boat, plane, and foot. As an expert on Latin America and sustainable travel, Greg has been interviewed as an authoritative expert for such media outlets as Newsweek, The Washington Post, BBC Radio, and Rick Steves Radio. So, without any further ado, here's Greg Benchwick.
I think my mic's on. Can you hear me well?
Yes.
The Washington Post interview was on pit toilets, so it was. My name's Greg Benchwick. I've been a travel writer for about 15 years now, and I love to travel. So I'm really excited to just share what I love about travel and why I think travel can be a good thing and why it can be a bad thing too. I have a slideshow that I'm just going to play in the background. And I kind of think of these things as a conversation. So if you have a question along the way, let me know. If not, if it can wait, we can talk afterwards about it. We'll have, I think, a little bit of time for questions and answers. But first to start, I just kind of want to get to know you guys. I started traveling because I wanted to see the world. I wanted to explore my own self and understand myself better. And I wanted to meet really cute girls and try to convince them to hang out with me. So who has a great reason why they travel? Can we hear just a couple from you guys? You got one.
Me?
Yeah.
I don't know, just explore, see different cultures, and kind of the same thing you were saying, I suppose.
Okay. Anybody else?
Because it makes me happy.
Makes you happy? That's awesome. Me too.
Takes you out of your comfort zone. It's a challenge at times.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Photography.
And you can do things while you're doing it, right? So I've kind of been thinking a lot about travel lately, and when I put together this talk, I was thinking about why travel is so good and why travel can be so bad. So when we get to the section that says travel is bad, you guys just let me know and I'll stop the slideshow and we'll move into a different section of it. My first international trip on my own, I was 18 and I went to Central America. So this is right after the Sandinista Wars and right after the pacification of Guatemala. And I was traveling up by chicken bus, and my mom, who's back there, was just absolutely terrified that I was doing this. But I was, it expanded my horizons so much. And I grew up in Colorado Springs. Being this kid from a small town in Colorado, all of a sudden I was face to face with the reality of poverty, the reality of different cultures, different languages, different social mores, and I just started to expand and grow a lot. And that's always what travel has been about for me, mostly is personal exploration. Then, after that trip, I decided, I went to school here at CU Boulder, got a degree in journalism, and decided to move to Spain to become a ski instructor. So Dad was so proud to have paid for 4 years of college, and I went to Spain and became a ski instructor / poet. Which also helped get the girls, so it all worked together. My ski instructing career in Spain lasted about 4 months, 3 months. That's as long as the season lasts anyhow. And then I headed out and did the through more of the good stuff before I got into it being bad. Good eyes. After the Community de Santiago, I went to Bolivia and got my first real job. I worked at the Bolivian Times. You've probably heard of it. It's like the Los Angeles Times, New York Times. Maybe your subscriptions run out, but think about resubscribing. And I got paid $200 a month. Occasionally I got paid in pizza. Occasionally I didn't get paid at all. But I also got to interview Evo Morales. I got to meet a ton of very cool Bolivians during that time. And unlike a lot of my cohort in journalism school, I was covering real kind of global issues, even though it's for a very small paper. And then I started writing guidebooks. And I've written dozens of guidebooks, and I don't even travel anymore. I just go work, right? And it's unfortunate, I kind of have lost that love of travel, but then I go and I travel closer to home, and I feel just great. Like the Sloan's Lake by my house, travel around there all the time, right? And I love it, and I love being close. I love being close to my family, I love being close to home, and I think maybe that's where I think travel is good now. Even though I do spend 4 to 6 months of the year on the road traveling internationally, I kind of think it's good just to travel at home. And then I started thinking, well, if I could travel bad, what in the world could be bad about travel? I work for the biggest travel publisher in the world, arguably, Lonely Planet. And when I was a staff member there, I was a commissioning editor, and I was on our global sustainable tourism squad. And we talked about this every day. What's going on with travel? And this is back when Tony and Maureen Wheeler owned the company, and they said, okay, we're going to offset all staff travel. We're going to make carbon offsets. That still doesn't make a dent in what travel can do to the environment, for one. I did pick up some really good facts here. So I'll just give you a couple quick facts about what travel can do that's bad, and then we'll start the movie too. Let's see here. Because they just sync so well. There we go. Could be bad. National Geographic discovered that every additional 10 pounds per traveler requires an additional 350 million gallons of jet fuel a year. 75% of energy in a hotel room is used when the bathroom lights are left on for 2 more hours. Americans buy 50 billion bottles of water each year.
That's bad travel.
Oops, that's me on my last vacation. No one was supposed to go in there. Americans buy 50 billion bottles of water a year. 17 million barrels of oil are used to make those bottles. So you're not just buying bottles of water, you're buying bottles of oil. And air travel accounts for 3 to 5% of carbon dioxide emission that are released internationally. Then cruise liners, I know some of you might take cruises on occasion. Cruises can be great ways to see the world. They also create about twice as much. Let's see here. In Alaska, an 11-day cruise from Seattle to Juneau on a small boat with around 100 guests will burn 71 gallons of fuel per passenger, releasing 0.77 tons of carbon. The same flight from Seattle to Juneau releases 0.17. So we're looking at like 7 to 1, something like that. I'm not great at math, that's why I became a writer. So, and we see what those costs can be. There's also a cultural cost to it. And we actually at Lonely Planet called it the Lonely Planet effect, where we create these tourist routes, and if you're not in the book, you're not getting any travel. If you're in the book, there's no genuine, authentic part of the town anymore because it's all tourists now. But I think travel's a good thing, and I think if done right, it can benefit both people on the receiving end that are working as tour operators, that are working there, and as a cultural exchange, as well as for the person traveling. That's what I would like to think. I like to do good in my life, and I like to think that just in Alaska researching a book, and I think I showed some of the pictures of the receding glaciers. The environmental costs of travel are huge. Just getting on a plane is a huge environmental cost. And I do it every year. I do it 5 times a year. It's part of my life. I do offset my travel. So every time I get on a plane, a tree is planted somewhere in my name. But I don't really think that actually truly offsets the carbon that goes into the air from my flights. The cultural cost, when I was in Panama, I was lucky enough to travel through the Comarca de Cunayala. And the Comarca de Cunayala is an independent indigenous zone. I want to say about 10 years ago, the Kuna Indians who own this territory basically independently and run it independently of the Panamanian government decided to kick all foreign interests out of the Cunayala. The Smithsonian Tropical Institute was there. They kicked them out. They kicked foreign hoteliers out. And they said, we're going to run it. I went there, and my guide, I got off the plane, my guide said, oh, you know who that guy is? That's the cacique. That's the chief. I said, I'd like to interview him. So he arranged an interview. I sat down with him, and I said, well, what's going on? I hear all these reports, you're kicking people out of the Cunayala. What's going on? And he said, we want tourism. Tourism is good for our people, but we want to run it ourselves. And I thought that was a great way to look at it. Sometimes you need seed money, sometimes you don't. And the more locally grown stuff I've seen, the better I like it. I think some of those examples you can see the difference between tourism development, possibly in Panama City, which has always had large U.S. interests, and tourism development in Costa Rica, which was, perhaps it's the Canadian interest they developed. It was so much more low-rise, and they do really take their sustainable travel seriously there, even though the entire coast has now been sold to foreign interests. And basically no ticos own any coastal land in Costa Rica. But they are still benefiting from it. I have a stat here about what travel is today. I think in 2012, for the first time, there were over 1 billion international visitors traveling around the world. You can just imagine what that scale means. It also means that it's bringing 1.2 trillion, that's trillion with a TR, to the economy. It's creating 260 million jobs.